Back in 1963, racing officials burst into a Chevy garage, grabbed an engine and banned it forever. Not because it cheated or used illegal parts, but because it was simply too dangerous. This is the incredible story of the 409W engine, Chevy's forbidden beast, and the shocking secrets that led to its death. The Chevrolet 409W wasn't just another powerful motor. It was a lightning rod for scandal, tragedy, and dirty business tricks. Behind its thunderous roar hid dark tales of backstabbing, crashes, and a reputation covered in blood and broken dreams. Why did people call this engine a death trap? And what made Chevrolet murder their own masterpiece? Here's the hidden darkness of the 409. In 1961, born from the fierce horsepower battle, this 6.7-liter monster arrived when Chevrolet would do anything to win. This engine was pure innovation wrapped in raw fury. Ed Cole, Chevrolet's top engineer who later ran all of GM, created the W block with its wild 11-degree valve setup, built at GM's Flint factory in Michigan, the same place, that made the Corvair and later the small block V8. This engine was trouble from day one. The engineering behind the 409 was revolutionary but dangerous. Unlike traditional engines that used a more conservative valve angle, the 409's aggressive 11-degree setup created incredible airflow but made the engine incredibly sensitive to tuning. The valves opened wider and stayed open longer, creating massive power but also creating massive problems. This design required perfect timing, perfect fuel mixture, and perfect maintenance. One small mistake could turn the engine from a powerhouse into a destructive force. Former Chevy mechanics still talk about how the 409 was incredibly difficult to tune properly. The dual 4-barrel carburetors looked amazing when they worked right, but became a complete nightmare when the setup was even slightly off. Many mechanics refused to work on them, claiming they were too unpredictable and dangerous. The engine's reputation for being temperamental wasn't just talk. Factory workers at the Flint plant reported numerous incidents during testing, where engines would suddenly surge or stall without warning. Quality control became a nightmare, with engines passing inspection one day and failing catastrophically the next. Some workers secretly called it the lottery engine because you never knew what you'd get. Why did they call it the 409W? The secret lay in its unique design, a wide-angle valve arrangement that made it completely different from anything else on the road. This brutal engine was Chevrolet's aggressive response to the growing muscle car madness, built to deliver crushing power on both city streets and racing tracks. With its revolutionary W-shaped block, it literally breathed fire, but competitors screamed that it wasn't fair. Was it simply too good for its own survival? The internal politics at GM were just as volatile as the engine itself. Engineers were split into two camps, those who believed the 409 represented the future of American performance, and those who thought it was a dangerous experiment that would destroy the company's reputation. The arguments in boardrooms were legendary, with some executives threatening to quit if the project continued. The 409 V8 appeared in their full-size Impala models. But why risk everything on such a massive, untested power plant? Easy answer. Chevy wanted to give speed freaks a taste of pure, wild power, and they delivered exactly that. By 1962, the 409 had carved its name deep into muscle car history. The basic version already pumped out 360 horses thanks to its single Carter AFB carburetor. But Chevrolet refused to stop there. They quickly boosted power to 380 horsepower, showing they were serious about going bigger and wilder. With 6.7 liters or 409 cubic inches of V8 Fury, this engine wasn't just about horsepower numbers. It was about total domination, with a massive 400 pound-feet of crushing torque. The manufacturing process itself was a constant battle. The tight tolerances required for the W block meant that even tiny variations in machining could create completely different performance characteristics. Some engines rolled off the assembly line as docile street cruisers, while others were barely contained monsters that seemed to have minds of their own. Workers at dealerships across America reported strange incidents with 409-equipped cars. Engines that ran perfectly during test drives would suddenly develop problems after delivery. Some customers complained that their cars felt possessed, with power delivery that was impossible to predict. Chevrolet quietly sent out technical bulletins trying to address these issues, but many problems remained unsolved. The 409 came in two main flavors. The 409 360 base model delivered 360 horsepower at 5,400 RPM and 400 pound-feet of torque. The more powerful 409 380 cranked out 380 horsepower while keeping that impressive 400 pound-feet of torque. But Chevrolet still wasn't finished. In 1963, they unleashed the 409 to 400. First, a true beast that pushed power up to an incredible 400 horsepower while maintaining that same 400 pound-feet of torque. The Chevrolet 409W earned many colorful names during its glory days, showing its reputation, design, and cultural impact. Here are the most famous ones. The Beast. Mechanics and racers gave it this name because of the engine's raw, untamed power and its reputation for being nearly impossible to tune. The dual four-barrel carburetors needed perfect timing, and its high compression made it a nightmare for amateur builders. You didn't control the Beast, you just hung on and hoped to survive the Impaler. This name came from the 409-powered Impala SS, which crushed drag strips and street races everywhere. The name played on the car's Impala model and its ability to destroy rivals like Ford's 406 and Pontiac's 421. Don Nicholson's 1962 NHRA Winter Nationals victory made this nickname stick forever. Baumotor. This came from its unique W-shaped combustion chamber design, not because it was wide. This was a quirky creation from Ed Cole's engineering team. Car enthusiasts and factory documents often use this technical nickname. The W confused many people. It actually referred to the valve angle layout, not the block shape, the Beach Boys bomb, made famous by the Beach Boys' 1962 hit song 409, which celebrated the engine's incredible power. The song turned the 409 into a pop culture legend, even though the band later admitted they actually preferred Ford's. The song's engine revving sounds were recorded using a E409-powered Impala, owned by Brian Wilson's cousin WidowMaker, a much darker nickname, used by racing officials and critics who claimed the engine's power-to-weight ratio in lightweight cars like the Biscayne made it deadly at high speeds. The racing ban made this reputation even worse. Chevy fans argued this was just Ford and Pontiac propaganda to justify the restrictions. The Canadian Ghost. After GM stopped making the 409 in America, Canadian Pontiacs like the Parisian and Grand Parisian kept it alive under names like Superflame 409. American enthusiasts smuggled these cars across the border, calling them ghosts of Chevy's banned legacy. Z11 secret weapon. The rare Z11 427 version, a bored and stroked 409, got nicknamed the Chevy that never was because of its limited production and GM's efforts to hide its existence after the racing ban. Each nickname tells its own story. The Beast represented raw power and mechanical rebellion. WidowMaker showed corporate sabotage and rivalry. Beach Boys bomb meant cultural fame versus corporate abandonment. The 409's nicknames explain why people still argue about it today. Was it a hero or a hazard? Let us know what you think. The W engine featured a unique 11-degree valve angle, boosting airflow and ultimately improving efficiency and performance. However, that wasn't even the most powerful version available. The solid lifter cam version of the 409 provided even more brutal power, with the top model reaching a mind-blowing 425 horsepower. It had a high compression ratio of 11.25 to 1, solid lifters, and twin four-barrel carburetors. This setup was built to maximize performance, making sure the 409 could battle with the best engines available. The racing ban. Too fast to survive. 1963 rulebook changes. The 409's complete dominance led to harsh rules, specifically targeting Chevy. Cars with 409s got hit with weight penalties up to 4,300 pounds and carburetor restrictor plates that killed their speed. Ford and Chrysler lobbied hard for these changes. Sabotage accusations. Racers like Dick Harrell claimed racing officials deliberately disqualified 409 cars for tiny violations. In 1963, the Thompson Chevrolet team got banned from the U.S. Nationals for illegal cylinder heads, a charge fans called completely made up. Racing authorities didn't just ban the 409, they tried to erase it from history. The price tag of the Chevrolet 409 engine varied by model, but one thing was crystal clear: it wasn't cheap. The 409 engine option on the Chevrolet Impala cost around $500. but buyers got an engine that could match the best in racing. To put this in perspective, the Chevrolet Corvette at the time came with a 283 V8 engine, which was powerful but nothing like the 409. Even with its premium price, enthusiasts rushed to buy the 409, desperate to experience its thrilling power on the road. Even though this was a superior engine, it faced fierce competition from companies like Ford and Pontiac. Ford offered the 406 engine, which had similar size but wasn't as high performance as the 409. The 406 was decent, but couldn't match the 409's top-end power. Pontiac's 421 engine was tough and could hold its ground, but Chevrolet's 409 often destroyed it in drag races and high-speed runs. In 1962, Don Nicholson's 409 Impala dominated the strip, running 13.7-second quarter miles. Racing officials took notes, and so did GM's lawyers. GM's 1963 racing ban pulled the plug. No factory support, no upgrades. The 409 was left to die, but not before one final battle. Meet the Z11, Chevy's secret 427 cubic inch weapon, unofficially pushing 500 horsepower. It was a drag strip assassin. Too bad NASCAR banned it immediately. The 400W had a clear advantage in straight-line speed and race-winning ability, especially considering the power-to-weight ratio in cars like the Chevrolet Impala. But here's the burning question. Why did competitors fear this engine so much that it got banned? Was it simply too powerful? Or were there other forces at work? As everyone knows, good things don't last forever, and the Chevrolet 409 couldn't escape the forces working behind the scenes. The engine's incredible power made it extremely successful on racetracks, but it also made it extremely dangerous. The 409 got banned mainly because of its incredible performance and the fact that it challenged automobile industry standards at the time. The National Hot Rod Association and other racing groups saw the 409 as too powerful, and it started being viewed as unfair, making it much harder for other manufacturers to compete on equal terms. But what made it so dominant wasn't just street performance. It was its ability to adapt to different conditions, including drag racing, where it regularly destroyed competitors. Now, one of the most famous cars equipped with the Chevrolet 409 was the 1961 Chevrolet Impala SS. This car, with its high-output 409 engine, became the symbol of muscle car culture. The Impala SS became the favorite of racers and enthusiasts who wanted to conquer the streets, with the unbeatable combination of power and style. Another famous car was the Chevrolet Biscayne, which also offered the 409 engine. While the Biscayne was more family-oriented, the 409 engine transformed it into a street powerhouse. The WidowMaker reputation grew from tragedy. The 409's torque made it dangerous for inexperienced drivers. In 1962, a Los Angeles street race ended in disaster when a 409-powered Biscayne flipped at 110 mph, killing 2 teenagers. Newspapers called it the WidowMaker, and Chevy dealerships faced lawsuits. In 1964, amateur racer Jim Clark lost control of his 409 Impala during a qualifying run, crashing into a crowd. The incident fueled calls for banning the engine. Chevy quietly pulled 409 advertisements after the crashes, but the nickname stuck forever. By 1964, the Chevrolet 409 engine mostly carried over from the previous year with no major changes. However, a big shift happened when the 425 horsepower version got discontinued toward the end of that production year, marking the start of the engine's decline. In 1965, Chevy offered just the 340 horsepower and 400 horsepower variants of the 409. By mid-year, the 409 was completely eliminated, replaced by the new 396 V8. This transition marked the beginning of a new era in muscle car power, with the 409 slowly being seen as outdated compared to newer, more advanced engines. Over its 5-year run from 1961 to 1965, more than 15,000 Chevrolet 409 V8 engines were built, leaving behind a legacy that still sparks debates today.